What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the show, Vintage and Stuff, coming to you live from Grail City. Today on the show, I have Wall 2 Street, aka Javi, or Javi, aka Wall 2 Street, whatever makes sense. Super dope episode. We talk about investing, we talk about buying property, we talk about the vintage game, of course. Me and him have a lot of similarities, and it's a great chat for sure. So make sure you stay till the end. Thank you guys always for listening, tuning in, watching on YouTube, watching on iTunes. I appreciate it. I really do. I appreciate you guys. If you want to support the show, as always, you can hop on my Patreon. For those of you that don't know what Patreon is, it is a program where you can, for a small little bit of money, support me and get extra content. And yeah, join the club on Patreon, guys. That's it for today on my intro. One more shout out to Gem App. I want to say go download Gem App, okay, guys? I've said this on the show before, but it's a really wicked app that does cross-web searching for vintage. So you can search lots of people's different websites, eBay, all these different platforms from one search platform. Gem App in the App Store. Go download it, get on it. Enjoy the episode.
Welcome to Vintage and Stuff with two high fits. Welcome to Vintage and welcome to Vintage and Stuff with two high fits. Welcome to Vintage and welcome to Vintage and Stuff. Two high fits. Welcome to Vintage and welcome to Vintage and Stuff. Vintage and Stuff. We got vintage clothing by the rack. Yeah. Just check out my Insta. How you gon' argue with that? Everything you see, I manifest. I'm an architect. I think I'ma run it back. We got vintage clothing by the rack. Just check out my Insta. How you gon' argue with that? Everything you see, I manifest. I'm an architect. I think I'll have some of that.
Javi, welcome to the show, my man.
All right, thank you for having me on, Drew.
My pleasure, dude. So where are you coming to us from? Where do you reside?
Virginia. Northern Virginia. I'm literally like 15 minutes away from D.C.
So were you born and raised there?
Yes, born in Arlington Hospital. It was literally probably a mile away from D.C.
Nice. I've been through a couple times, but can't say I've spent much time there, to be honest.
Okay.
But yeah,
it's changed.
You want to give us a rundown of your history and how you kind of got into the vintage game?
Oh yeah. That's I mean, for me, honestly, Drew, it goes back to I would say elementary school. It started with the sneakers, that's how it created everything. And we had a friend, he was older than all of us. And then we started picking up a bunch of old, it started with the starters. It started with the the crisscross when we had all the jerseys and everything.
Yeah.
And we held on to a lot of these things. Our parents were not hoarders, but they paid a lot for it. So they held on to it, and then we ended up having some stuff from back in the day. And
that
little
stuff,
by little,
just to touch on that, it's crazy because you're right. That stuff, like to go buy a starter jacket back in the day, it was steep, man. Like you were that was like a Christmas present or something, it wasn't like an everyday item.
See, that's how it goes back. So when we moved from a certain place, my parents bought a place out here in Northern Virginia, house. It wasn't really any, how should I say it? There weren't any Hispanics. We were low income housing, So in order to fit in, that's how we got in, because we were the cool kids wearing the nice sneakers and wearing nice jerseys. And our parents, that they were working 2 jobs a day to get that stuff. So it all played out in a way where we became the cool kids, even with the dyno bikes, the GTs and all that stuff. So we kept a lot of that stuff.
So you say there weren't a lot of Hispanics where you grew up. So is it pretty rural where you are, or where you grew up?
No. So, Arlington now is different from what it was before. So back then it was pretty bad in the 80s.
Okay.
So our parents took us and moved us to Centerville, which I'm still here. And they took us out over there because that was bad. It was getting bad in the 80s. You know, a bunch of drugs and everything at
Crime,
nighttime.
yeah.
Yeah. So when we came out here, it was nothing but farmland, and now it's boomed. Now it's different. You couldn't even tell the difference.
Yeah.
It's like a city almost.
Yeah, okay. So fast forward to like the recent years, and you know, were you always kind of, did you stay in vintage, or did you get back in at some point, or when did it like spark to you as
It,
or were you always kind of in it? Like, give us the whole timeline.
so it you know without even knowing that I was in it, I was collecting things even from seventh grade, like the polo hats, the polo bear hats. I was always into polo sport. Um, Again, you know, it was phases. We went from cross colors, starters, to polo in seventh grade,
Yeah.
and we were just holding on to these things. And it sparked when round two opened up in Richmond, which is 2 hours away from me.
Okay.
But when that happened, you know, I was thinking to myself, wow, you know, we have some of these things. These things are like, you know, it takes us back to our childhood days. So I kept on going back to the storage and everything, my parents, and we saw like a bunch of stuff. And then fast forward in 2000, and I think 17, we went to Complex Con in LA. I mean, that's all you saw. People, like the people that were there, they were just wearing vintage. And I was like, man, this is pretty cool. Like I'm definitely getting back into it, you know. So you know, it was more of the time that I was collecting things, thrifting, and it wasn't just t-shirts, it was everything that I was collecting.
Yeah. What year did round two open in Richmond?
I believe it was 2000 in, I'm gonna say 2009 or 12, one of the two. I can't recall.
Okay.
It's been such a long time.
Yeah, so they've been around a minute. So I guess when you guys caught wind of that, did you find them on YouTube, or was it just like word of mouth that they're, I guess they weren't even on YouTube in the early days.
No, they weren't on YouTube.
So
It was a bunch of kids from VCU, friends that they were out there, and you know they were wearing sneakers and stuff, and they just told us, hey, have you? When they came back home, they were like, hey, did you hear about this store? And then I was like, no, I'll check it out. And it was just like you know, it's like a light switch that went out when I went to the store.
yeah. And were you selling to them back in those early days too? Would go into the store and cash out?
No, I would never sell to them. That's the thing. I would go over there just to hang out and pick up some items. But never in a million years would I think, you know, it would blow up like it did.
Yeah, that's wild, man. You know, I respect those guys for what they did. They were early in the sneaker, streetwear, vintage mix. I mean, I don't know. For me, like they were the ones that did it first, really, that whole mix, which now it seems is so commonplace. Because back, you know, we opened our store in 2007, but I was selling vintage in like 2002, 3, 4. And you never really would have thought that would have mixed, and weren't even on that game because we never really came from like the sneakerhead background.
Right.
But
Right.
obviously I appreciate sneakers and I understand it, and I know vintage sneakers, like I bought sneakers and everything, but it's just crazy to see where that's coming now. So many people are, you know, they just see that as like a staple in the game, that whole mix of sneaker, streetwear, and vintage, right?
Right.
Super interesting. So
Right.
did
No,
you
no,
did you ever get on their show when you went to the store?
no, I never did. So, you know, I took a break going back and forth because it was a 2 hour drive out there for me.
Yeah.
But you know, for them, I think it was the right time for everything. I think Graham, he came back, and it was just everything just worked out for them. It was just a perfect storm for them. You know, Graham was looking for work, and I think he was back in VCU, hanging out with everybody. And then I think Sean just asked him, hey, why don't you just film us? And, you know, the whole YouTube blew up.
Yeah, totally. So many kids and people I talk to say that that's what got them in the game in the beginning was the round two YouTube. It's wild what something like that can do for the business, you know? And now we're seeing
Oh
it in
yeah.
like so many other things.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you know, I've only known you probably through Instagram for like a year or something.
Right.
we chat back and forth now and again. I like what you do because you're into other things besides just t-shirts. You have a career. You're an investor. You own property, and I think it's rad, and I think it's cool to talk about because I think a lot of people in this game need to hear that kind of stuff, you know. But before we get into that, I want to talk about, there's a rumor that you were like, I don't know if it was you that said it or somebody said it, but you were selling your collection, and I don't know if you said I'm going to be out or people just assumed because you were selling part of your collection you were going to be out. You want to talk about like selling a big part of your stash?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, the way I got onto it, I hit up Wiz at nighttime, and I was fortunate that he picked up after his set. He does on Sundays, and I gave him some stuff for my kids and everything, and then he put me on. He didn't know he had no idea what I had. This was at nighttime. He's already in bed with his wife and everything, and I collected these things, Drew, just like you had, and from years ago. We're talking about 10 years ago. So
Yeah.
for me, like having these Nirvana tees and everything, for me it was like I was like $50 that I paid for them back in the day. So for me to sell my things, it was a no brainer. I waited, I went on Wiz, and then Chris got me on, and then I just started doing my own lives, and I didn't see that many people like were following me and everything. So I said, you know what? I woke up one day and I said, what am I going to do with 300 tees right now?
Yeah.
I wanted to start a store just like you have. And I thought about it, because of the pandemic, I just decided, you know what, let's just go ahead and just do a sell-off. It's the best time. So
Yeah.
right when January 15th, I'll never forget it. I just woke up and I called my friend and said, can you help me out? And he was one of my partners that we used to do venues with, pop-ups. And he said, yeah, sure. And just that one night, I think in 12 tees, it was like literally like 17 grand in one night.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a
But
crazy.
and I got people's attention like doing that.
Yeah. So do you remember, you remember a couple of tees you sold that night?
Oh yeah, I sold the whole Nirvana collection. Yeah, all the Nirvanas, I sold them for like 400. I think the 500 was the max. And then I sold one on the side for 1,000. The Snoop Dogg Big Face. Distant Wonder bought a Britney Spears, I believe, from back in the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like 12 tees, I believe. All the Nirvanas so there was like 5 Nirvana tees. And then I sold the American Gangster. They were limited. It's like a bootleg. I think I sold it for $650, and I had that shirt and I picked it up for like $10 one time at thrift. So I was happy with that.
So all this stuff you were collecting over the years. Obviously, you bought some stuff at some vintage stores and everything, but most of your finds were thrift finds.
Thrift finds, eBay finds from 2006. eBay finds from 2006, and a Depop. Just little things I here and there, but that's the thing. Like, it was before the whole thing that blew up. Even Grailed back then, Grailed, you could have picked stuff up and you could have taken it around too, and you would have made a come up. It's almost like the virtual flea,
Yeah.
So
Grailed is used to be really good. I mean, I think a lot of prices are way overblown on Grailed now, but back then, like, it was a different person selling on there. eBay, everybody just loves to look at the comps, right? Everyone's looking at comps all day. So it's like most people put things up unless you get a sleeper at like close to market value. But with Grail, people just kind of like wing it. They just throw shit up. So sometimes you can like score, dude.
Oh yeah. I scored. The last thing that I scored was probably one of my favorite tees. I paid $150 for the Stone Cold with the skull in the front and the X-ray skull and him on the back. So that was it was like $150. Everybody slept on it. I think I just sold on the virtual for $1,000.
Fuck. That whole boom in the wrestling is crazy to me. Cause I swear, man, I was, probably even like 18 months ago to 2 years ago, I would just put those in my store. A lot of them would sell for probably like $40, man. It wasn't even a thing. Like, sure, some of them were cool. And then wrestling kind of got a bit of steam like a year ago, but it blows my mind that these shirts are selling for that much money right now. And I
Right.
personally, I'm not a are you a wrestling guy? Like, do you watch
Oh
WWF?
yeah. Well, no, from back in the day, not newer, not the
Yeah.
new ones, but back in the day, yes, that was a ritual thing on Saturdays. You'd wake up and watch that.
And I don't even know, like, even now, you know, I'll be the first to admit, like, as far as the prices on shit right now, I don't really, you know, I have a pretty good idea, but there's a lot of things I have no idea. Like, I don't know a lot of the differences between a lot of these WWF tees to me because I never followed it. And I'm not in the head of these guys, right? So it still blows my mind some of the prices that are getting paid right now for this stuff.
Right. Well, you know what? I'm gonna say it first. I think it was slept on. A lot of these teas were slept on, and it's because of um just the history. Like if you go back, if you're into wrestling, you know, with the big guys. I mean, these are like the vets, like Hulk Hogan, of course. But then, you know, when he went to NWO, it was just a whole like soap opera thing that they were had going on. And now you look back at it, you don't see that anymore. So it's changed. You know, like everything in life, everything changes. Now, I don't think WWF. I mean, they changed the WWF to WWE copyright infringements, but
Yeah.
it's not the same anymore. You know, you're never gonna see that. It's almost like comparing Arnold Schwarzenegger to The Rock now.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, and I guess that for me not being in it, you know, you're right. It was a soap opera. Like every time there'd be like a continuation of what was happening in the dramas between different wrestlers and the beefs. And
yeah.
do you think it's more that the history of it, or do you think it's more that it just looks? A lot of them look like that. You know, they have that look that everybody wants, which is like a big print, faded black, double sided.
Yeah, I think that's it too. That's part of it. I mean, you know, it just yeah, just because of who they were and represented, maybe that was the guy you always watched and you were cheering for. But yeah, I think it has to do a lot with the prints on it as well. You know, because there's a
Yeah.
bunch of Stone Colds and a lot of Goldbergs, but you know, the Stone Colds obviously are just because of who he is. He's one of the elite guys from the 2000 era.
Yeah, I had the Goldberg. There's one that like is a bootleg, looks exactly like a rap tee, the Goldberg.
Hmm.
I had that like, geez, last spring, probably about a year ago. I think I might have sold it for like 250, maybe. I bet you that one hits hard now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, see, that's the thing. There's gonna be a few later on that I think will still hold its value no matter what. You know, like there are a few teas that I do believe like Shawn Michaels has a bunch of them that were like all over print.
Yeah.
The Ultimate Warrior, those will always hold its value, I believe. The all over prints.
Yeah, I've had those for sure. And those ones even had value before the boom of
Hmm.
wrestling, I think, but probably nothing like they do now.
Right.
So you're also into Nike. I know you buy a lot of Nike. You bought Nike for me, and I know you like your
Mhm.
polo. So how do you see like the evolution of that stuff? And you know, do you have collections of that stuff still?
Oh yeah, I have a lot of polo that I never sold any of my polo. That I cherish forever. You know, Nike I have few and they're rare pieces. That's what I'm going for now. Just rare pieces. That if it's polo, if it's rare, I'll take it. If it's Nike, I'll take it as well. If it's rare, even posters and everything, I collect all that stuff. Because one
Yeah.
day I will open up a shop and I'll have all that stuff on one side and it'll be just all Nike stuff there.
Yeah. It's like you can liken it to investing in a way, like the stock market and different trends. T-shirts went like this, right?
Right.
Polo's kind of just doing this the whole time, right? Polo is like the safe ETF investment per se, because it never had that boom where,
Right.
you know, what's that saying? Once everyone's talking about it, it's too late. You're out. Like, get out, you know?
Right. Right.
Um, and
Well,
I,
Polo had his boom when Kanye started wearing it, and Polo always had his boom. But I still believe in New York. If you're a low head, that's what they're called. I mean, these people, they're diehard fans. You know, I don't even think anyone has started a page like that. I mean, there are several people, but no one. I would say like a channel. I'm calling everybody a channel on a virtual fleet. No one's actually just started that and just showed all their heat and everything. And, people get hip to that, and that's what I'm saying. Like you just said it. They're going to be late to that boom.
Yeah. And you're right. Like the community is it had the boom kind of it was on this crazy rise, and then the retros came out, and then it kind of leveled out, and some things dropped because the retros fucked it up, and whatever happened. But I still think like they hold value to a degree, and the community is so tight. Like Jesse can speak on this way more than me, but people who are into polo are diehard into polo, and it could be like a hard shell to crack kind of to get in that community because they don't really like outsiders coming in.
No, you're right.
Are you like tapped
You're
in a
right,
bit to those crew and like the New York guys? Like, are you friends with some of them?
Yeah, I'm friends with some of them. He was actually on the horsepower on the they had their own thing that I think Complex or someone put it on, but it's on YouTube.
Yeah, I've seen that little doco.
Yeah. So I'm connected to a few of those, and again, I'm also connected to a lot of the streetwear guys out in New York, like the Supreme heads, the ones that actually they don't even have to wait in line; they just get the stuff. So like Dre, Soul Street, he's one of the big guys out there. So,
do you buy streetwear, new streetwear?
No, I do not. I stopped. I completely stopped after, I think 2 years ago. I think I stopped. Even with the sneakers, I think I calmed it down as well. I'm investing more into other things other than sneakers now.
Okay, so let's get on to that talk. So can you talk to us about you have a construction company, am I right?
Yes. I own a concrete company.
Okay, so give us the rundown on that. How long you been doing that?
Since 2002. I'm sorry, 2001, because I purchased my first property in 2002 from that money that I made.
Nice.
Yeah.
So concrete company, you go out, you got, correct me if I'm wrong, but a concrete company, like, do you have like a lot, or do you go pick up concrete and then pour it?
No. So what we do is we have a cruise. I what's it called? It's like a subcontractor. The concrete trucks, the mixers, they come out. They're a vendor pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, they come out. I don't own a physical concrete plant. We pretty much poured foundations, sidewalks, curbs, and gutters, and all that. But we do every single Starbucks out in Northern Virginia, Chick-fil-A's, Chipotle's, and Mission Barbecues and Orange Theories.
Nice.
Yeah.
Huge chains.
Yes. It took a while to get these guys, man. But that's the thing. Being persistent, and it's all about timing.
So, how do you go about getting a contract like that with such a big company?
Okay. Well, I mean, I started from the ground up, Drew. I started with pick and shovel, and it was just simple, like just putting yourself out there, just like everything, just like now, like we're on the lives, putting yourself out there, and all you need is just one person to get a wind of you, and all of a sudden, I didn't even promote myself. I pretty much got a contract from Starbucks, and then they told Chick-fil-A, and then they told Chipotle about me, and it was just word of mouth. It was just easy for us to get those accounts because of the work ethic that we do and the good quality work that we give.
Nice, man. So you say you purchased your first home in 2002, which is that's almost 20 years. Good for you, man.
Yeah, thank you.
So what was that like, and what's your portfolio like now, and what's your plays, and let's get into this.
All right. So my first property I bought was in 2002, and I never actually lived in it. It was meant to be a rental property because it was sitting on an acre, and I bought it for like $200,000. So it's funny because it was just a beaten down house, but I loved it because I saw the potential in it.
Yeah.
So, I rented that one out. In 2003, I bought my second property. Um, and that one I took a hit in, Drew, because no, 2006, I believe, I bought my second property, and that's when the housing boom was at. But before that, how I got that money was actually getting doing my work for the concrete company and everything, and the construction company, and then I bought stocks, and then that I used that stock money to invest into this property. And now
What stocks were you playing back then?
Apple, Amazon, just blue chip stocks, and Chipotle. That was my biggest one, Chipotle. I only invested $3,000 and I cashed out like 78,000.
Nice, man.
Yeah, yeah.
And how long of a period?
From 2006 to 2018.
Okay. So it's a good long play.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing that I try to put people on game on that. So reality is, if these T-shirts are really supposed to go up, right? I did the same thing. I had these and held them since 2006, even earlier, 97, and I held on to them. Look what year I sold them, at 2021 and 2021, and look, it paid off. So it's similar. So I tell people, you're in this game of the vintage, right? Like, you got long terms, but if you're thinking short terms, just to flip, make $300, that's cool. But if you're in the long terms, you would hold. You'd be smart and hold the shirts. Don't even sell them.
Yeah.
If you're playing the long game.
I don't really play that game, but I also think there's validity in it. And I also think, you gotta play long term with your business model as well. I kind of tell people that, because it's like the lives right now, they're great and you're making a lot of money, but like, Chris, he's on live every evening, all weekend long. He can't do that when his kids get a bit older. Like, you're going to tell your kids, like, I got to be on live all day, Saturday, Sunday. You know what I mean? He's got 2 kids at home. How's that going to play out for his quality of life? And I don't know his plans, but I'm just using that as an example. But if you don't plan to like have some kind of other income coming in, you're stuck in it, and you're just, failure to plan, you plan to fail.
So Drew, we're going back and forth. So by me selling off all those shirts,
Yeah.
gave me leverage of certain. I can't say the amount, just because I don't want to put myself out there, but it gave me enough money to put into stocks. It gave me enough money to put into cryptocurrency, and now I tripled my money. I think quadrupled almost my money doing that. So that's what you're saying, and I still have 100 tees left to sell. They're sitting in my vault, and I don't want to show anyone, because that just kills the fun. I know a few people hit me up for their shirts back. Vintage Heatwave. He asked me to go back to him, the Big Pun, but I don't
No
think I'm
shit.
gonna
So
do
people
it right
you
now.
bought
I'm gonna
from
play. I'm gonna play the waiting game.
They hit you up and they're like, I want to buy that shirt back.
Oh yeah, yeah. Even the last rap tee, I sold all my rap tees. The last rap tee I bought was DMX. Unfortunately, we know what happened. But it was a no intent. This was like prior, like 3 weeks prior to him going to the hospital. So I bought the shirt for $650. And he was like, "Can you help me out?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not? I'll purchase it." I didn't even want it, but just to help out, no problem. And it was a dope shirt. But you can imagine now what it's probably worth and what's going for now. But I'm not trying to think of it that way. It's more of a long-term thing. Again, holding on to these things.
Yeah. I want to go back quickly to the housing market crash in 2008. A lot of people who are watching this are so young, they might not even know that shit happened, but it's a very real thing. That was like the last huge crash before the Corona crash, which was not even that big of a crash, really. Yet. We don't know what's going to happen. Right. So you said you had a property, you bought it in 2006, and then the housing market died in 2008. How badly were you affected, and like how'd that all play out? Did you have to sell or what?
I was underwater. Drew, I bought the house for $650,000. I was underwater. it was worth 420,000. So I ended up selling it in 2013, and I sold it for 430. So I took a hit. All that money was lost, and all that time that I had in it, I had fun in it and everything. But that's a lot of money that we're talking about that I lost.
Yeah, dude.
But it all works out. Like that's the thing. Like with anything, in life, it's just material. As long as I got my health, we can get it back.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's important. That's important. Like, look at you now. It's like some people get defeated on losses like that, but then the strong people know that it's just a blip on the map, and you keep going, man. You keep going. You don't
keep going, because you never stop. Whatever you do, you don't lose faith in yourself. You just go in believing, and everything's gonna work itself out, and everything happens for a reason. And it did. It really did, because I purchased this house that I'm in right now. My best friend, I was going through a situation, separation, everything, and he sold me his parents' house for a steal as a family member. He sold it to me for like 320,000, and the house is now worth 650,000. So with all the
Nice.
renovations I put into it, yeah. So.
Also, back to the long-term play. Like, what would that property that you sold in 2013 be worth today if you just held?
500. I always look it up on Zillow. It's worth 580 right now.
Okay, so you're just kind of back to where you started, maybe a little bit of money, but
right.
So I probably made the right play anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so where like fast forward to like your portfolio now, and what are you playing now? How many properties you got? What's the game plan?
So there's 3 properties. The game plan is cryptocurrency, and the next play is the NFTs. That's my play right now. And the other thing is we're holding on to a certain amount of funds, so we're waiting for the crash to happen so we can go back into real estate. I want to get into buying units, condos. It's commercial property, I would say.
Multifamily.
Correct.
Okay. All good plays and all good things to chat about. So we'll start with the first one, crypto. How do you view it now, and how do you view it playing out in the future? You said, I even saw somebody posting about this. You had advised somebody to buy Dogecoin, and they made 10 times money, right?
Yes.
That's fucking rad.
Yes.
Obviously you would have bought it yourself if you're advising people to buy it.
Of course, 1000%. Yes.
And how do you see, okay, so obviously I'm just going to give you my take on it, and then you can go off. But so I listen to so many podcasts, I read books. I'm like, I learn as much as I can. That's why we put this podcast out, so everyone else can learn too. Bitcoin is the granddaddy, which is super weird, because I actually started to look it up, and Bitcoin, there's a pseudonym for the person who actually created, or group of people that created it. It's some like name they made up, but we don't actually know who created it, which is super weird when I started to kind of go down that fucking tunnel, because I'm like, and then there's like these conspiracy theory posts about, was it the CIA? Was it this person that created it? Nobody really knows who created Bitcoin. If you have any info on it, hit me up.
Yeah, no. Like I don't even know. So all these theories that China made it up so they could take over, the dollar over again. They own us pretty much because we owe them money. So there's so many theories, but at the end of the day, it's only real when you cash out.
Yeah, totally. And then you have Ethereum, that is actually a company. They have an office. They have a business plan. They have functional applications for the crypto. They are basically backing all the NFT play, which we're going to chat about here. So, very different beasts, even though a lot of people just look at them kind of like similar products. And then you have Dogecoin, which is just some fucking, I don't want to say pump and dump, but it's not. I don't know. I don't know how I view it, but it's definitely like a phenomena within.
Right. I was reading about it. The creator doesn't even own any of any of
Oh
his own
shit.
coins. Yeah. So, but the whole thing is like, look, you have people that are backing it up. You have Elon Musk, you have Mark Cuban, and now you have, I think I just read that, who is it? A baseball team is now going to be collecting them as well, on the accepting it to buy anything at merch, anything from their stands, food stands, everything. So
Crazy.
no, it's not the Mavericks. It's the Oakland. Yeah, Mavericks are accepting. Mark Cuban said that, but I think it's the other one. It's a baseball team.
So, what's your take on the different cryptos? Are you playing just the main guys? Are you playing like the all the altcoins, or just the main guys? What's your plays?
There are a few that we have. Yeah, it's Oakland Athletics. That's what it is.
Okay.
There are a few that I play, but again, it's all for me. It's all a risk at the end of the day. I have a few like Safe Moon, a Fox. And there's a few other ones that we like. I say we because I have people also that help me out on this. It's not just a one man show. You can't do everything on your own. So
when you're saying this, are you in like an investment group, or you have an advisor, or like a portfolio manager?
Oh, no, just an advisor.
Okay.
Just an advisor. Yeah. Now, if I had a group, trust me, I would have taken some commission off of Drew's big investment.
Yeah. Shout out Drew Daddy. So, okay. So yeah, I look, I'm Dogecoin. Obviously I went in and I'm super pumped. I've made a ton of money. Geez, it's gotta be 10 times money at this point. And,
Right.
but I'm obviously skeptical that play is a higher risk than say Ethereum. I look at Ethereum as a much safer play, in the fact that there's practical applications, plus with the new wave of NFTs, there's just got to be more money flowing through that system, right?
Right.
So
Right.
you mentioned that NFTs, you're going to be in it. I obviously understand the game and I see what's going on. The UFC is about to drop like an NFT collectible program. Did you hear that?
No, I haven't heard. I'm sure I'm about to go look it up afterwards.
Yeah,
But
and
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
yeah,
Dana White's always into something, you know that. I mean, he's always into anything that can. Well, I mean, anything that's sports related, you're gonna make it work somehow in an NFT. Like it's gonna be the new wave.
I agree, man. I just saw last night Jeff Staple did a pigeon NFT, which was like a mechanical pigeon kind of turning on this thing. It's basically just an art piece. And obviously we have the NBA is involved. Then we're gonna have NFL, MLB, NHL. I'm sure are gonna get involved. It's just a matter of time. So when you say like, yeah, you're getting in, like, I haven't really figured out how I'm getting in. Like, I thought maybe to invest in the UFC parent company stock, if they launch this NFT thing, that's going to be a hitter.
Right.
How do you view it?
Well, I'm using it like what it is. It's just art, right? So I've never touched base on you about the stuff that I've collected in the past, just because art for me, it's always going to sell no matter what. And the way people are talking about T-shirts, these are art pieces. These are art pieces. Again, that's why I'm starting to collect rare pieces. So for me, is I can only imagine now going into an art exhibition, not even seeing the prints. And I think there is one already that I posted up on my story. And I just see walls full of TVs and just a bunch of NFTs. So for me, what I'm trying to create now is I want to create an NFT of a certain tee that I have, and I mess around with it, have a few designers work on it and everything, and then we could sell the shirt with it. So it's almost like you're taking a print, but you're actually making your own,
Yeah.
and then but you're giving away the shirt as well. So and I see that being done on Art Basel maybe next year if it opens up. I could see that being done.
And then you know, the NFT of that T-shirt can be sold, resold, traded. It's out there in the ether of the internet, and it can kind of have its own life.
Correct.
It's very interesting. And then
You get residuals from it.
you get the residuals, which is the kicker, man. So like literally, I know people who are doing this. I have artist friends who are doing really, really, really well, and the more they drop, the more residuals they get. And if you drop enough of these things, the residuals could just flow for the rest of your life and the rest of your kids' lives.
Correct. Yeah. That's the goal, right? Like to actually create something where it's just going to pay dividends.
Yeah.
And it's the beauty of NFTs, I believe, because it's almost like you're almost like getting paid like you own a copyright of the music. You're getting all the royalties from everything when it spins, and when everybody sees it. And that's the thing, you make it limited, a certain run. You can only make like 300 of them, and I would guarantee you'll make your money 3 times as much faster than you will in a T-shirt in 10 years.
Yeah. Something interesting that I was talking about to a colleague maybe even yesterday was that Roblox, right? Roblox is a huge video game, and NFTs have been a thing on that video game for years already, but it's just we don't really talk about it in the same way because it's just on the game. Like people are creating art pieces, creating outfits for the players, creating worlds, creating a sword, and then people are buying and trading them. And then there's also, it's basically the same as what's happening. The people are getting residual kickbacks from other people selling off their original Roblox art. So this thing has been around and kind of been developed by video games in the beginning, and now it's spawned into art. It's spawned into the sports world. It's going to be in the UFC. Like it is out there. So if you guys don't know what's going on in the NFT world, I suggest you start doing some reading because it kind of it blew my mind the first week I learned. I was like, what?
Oh yeah, and it's crazy because it's only honestly, I think whatever blockchain you're using, I think it's like $80 just to post it. And I mean, we're talking about $80 investments and doing your homework. That's all we're talking about. And you find a way to create something and just put it out there. That's pretty much what it's going to come down to. And I see the future being that in art. I don't see a lot of artists actually like Cause. He might be the next one. You imagine if he just drops an NFT out of nowhere and he says it's limited run. Yeah. I mean, that everybody's going to want to have that on their screen wall when they come in the house.
Yeah. And I look back at this period. This is the beginning. This is like going back to like early 90s and being like, I'm on the internet. People be like, what are you talking about? So eventually 20 years from now, we're going to look back on now. And if you have NFTs from this period, I believe it'll be like retro vintage NFTs, like the first round, the first iteration. And it's going to be super collectible, super sought after, just like everything is in the nostalgic realm. Because if you grew up with NFTs, you're going to look back at this period and go like, shit, those were the first. That was so cool what so-and-so did. And they're obviously, as time goes on, there's going to be more NFTs created all the time. Like it's happening right now. So in 20 years, it's going to be insane.
Right.
So if you think there's a lot now, it's actually probably fuck all compared to what will be available.
Exactly. My kids are going to be looking at this later on probably and be like, wow, actually, I'm glad you actually did that. Like, that's my dad, I could be like 7 years old and he could just tell his friends or his wife and kids that was your grandfather,
Yeah, totally. Oh man, now my head's like spinning into the future. I'm visualizing like walls of like digital walls where you can just like have different art pieces on them and like it's crazy,
Yeah,
man.
it just reminds me of, remember back then, I think they had a portrait where you could put in your pictures and it would change all the time. It's exactly like that, but they just spun it. And now we're talking about art pieces instead of having your own family portraits and stuff.
Yeah. No, I know those things for sure. That's hilarious. It makes total sense. So
But yeah,
back to crypto again for a sec. So do you look at Doge as a pump and dump, or do you look at this as something that's going to, because like a lot of people look at crypto in general as like stores of wealth, just like people view gold, right? Gold traditionally for like the older generation was always a store of wealth. It fluctuated, but it over time it typically went up. You put like people recommend 10% of money into gold and just
right.
stash it away. Do you view Doge in that realm, or is Doge like its own phenomenon? How do you see it playing?
When I see it playing, I see it as it's going to be it's going to be up there with the rest of them, with all like the big top dogs. And I don't think it's going to go away. I really do see like a big hedge fund picking it up because it's unlimited. Remember that, they didn't make like only like, what is it, 20 million, 21 million of Bitcoin. I think they made a certain amount of these things, and they're just they have, it's unlimited. So there is no cap to it. So I do feel like this is going to be taking to the next stage because no one's going to start using, no one's going to use no one's going to be using money anymore. We're just going to start using these cryptos and everything. So I do see it being played out as being the future, and it will be held into if arenas are taking it right now. I do believe that it's going to be the next thing. I don't see it going away. It's going
So
to be here
they're
to stay.
taking their arenas. They're taking Dogecoin, or
Yes, Mark Cuban, and the Oakland. Yep. They're taking it.
so your play is HODL. HODL your friggin' Dogecoin. Again, we're not advisors here. Make your own decisions. Do some research, but um, okay, yeah, and like honestly, this is for my info. Like, I don't really, a lot of people because they listen to this podcast think like I'm some guru on this shit. I'm just learning like everybody else. I've lost a lot of money in certain things, and I've made money here and there, and um, it's interesting to me because it's new and exciting, and like I wish I would have learned earlier. And I say that a lot. That's why I'm kind of putting it out there for the younger kids, because the longer you play, the more you're going to learn, the more money you're going to make over time.
Correct. And that's the thing. Even with the same play, you look at it. The longer you hold those grails, except the rap tees. I'm not going to say rap tees because we all know what rap tees do in their time. But other than that, like there are other tees that will be out there, and I do believe that they will be worth a certain X amount of money, just like sneakers, right? But it's got to be the right ones, and it's got to be how rare they are. I remember picking up the Andy Warhol tee, and those are, I think, heavy hitters later on because I think they only made like 100 of them, and they were deceased.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Art tees are having a huge period right now.
yeah,
Yeah, me and Thrift. I'm about to drop a Thrift Lord episode. It hasn't come out. Well, it'll come out by the time this is out. And he talks about the art tee versus like tees compared to art a little bit. And his take was like
right,
art. Tees are like it's called a lithograph, like a print of an art, because there's more than one of the tee.
mm-hmm.
He's kind of into art. He has some pieces, I think, and I don't know how many originals he has, but he sees it like there's going to be a lot of value going forward. But when you look at like an original painting, there's only one, right? Versus like a print. Prints will have value like 500, 800, 1,000. depending on who's the artist and how much limitations they put on it. But it is different unless you have a tee, I guess, that's like the most fucking rare that nobody has. Then you could say that's like the one art piece. But it's an interesting comparison. I think a lot of people have different views on it.
Yeah.
About sneakers for a sec. So
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
No. That's what I'm saying. I have a few that are very rare, and I know the history of them. They're only like certain made, and those are the pieces that I want to hold. Honestly, like everything else can go. Like I've seen, no offense to anybody, but I've seen the Nirvana tees. They come and go. You know, you could probably pick them up. They made so many of these tees, so to me it's not rare. Even the bootleg ones, so the rap tees and everything,
Yeah,
they're not rare to me. We've seen them all. I mean, so it's not like I think that those are like the best tees that everybody's looking after. The way I see those bootlegs being played out, if you're smart enough and you remember, if you're hip and you understand, you know, you listen to everything. Supreme logo, I remember someone selling it for like $2 million or $20 million. They collected all of them from back in the day, and they put them in a gallery and it's sold. So if someone has like say like 100 rap tees and they're all in great condition, they can be, you know, they don't have to be dry rot or anything, but it doesn't even matter if you put it into that money.
yeah,
That's my take on that.
yeah. Fair enough, man.
If you think it's an art piece.
I appreciate that. And you were talking about how like stash your tees because they're good. It's going to increase in value, which is totally a fair play. And now to speak on that for a sec, it's like people who are in this game, if you're actually in the game, not just as a hobby, you got to like still make enough money, pay your rent, keep buying more product and paying for your life. So I guess that's why I always I always talk about the mids too, because I'm like, mids pay the bills, man. Like if you can sustain your life on selling the mids and you can afford to keep the grails, I call them hammers. If you can afford to keep the hammers, then like you're doing good. Like that's what Taryn kind of does. He wholesales a lot of product and then he keeps like the top 5%. And you know, he sells some here and there, but it's like he keeps stashing that top 5%. And I think that's it's a totally valid play, man. And if you can sustain it in that way, fucking power to you. And the other thing about doing that is if more people do that, that act alone drives the market, because the more that people stash, it takes it off the active market. As you take product off the active market, it increases the rarity of an item, which drives the value up. Right. Simple economics, right? So
right. Well, so here's how I value the tees in my thing. I love them. I wear them. But at the end of the day, again, Drew, it's just material. Okay, we all know this. If that tee can elevate me to the next level, just like anything, you know, we had a property, we sold it. You can't be attached to anything in life. You cannot be attached. We're all gonna die at some point, you know. So for me, it's you take it while the market's hot, or you hold on, like you said, for the next 10, 20 years. But if that tee right now can make me XYZ amount of money and I can reinvest it into actually assets, no tee can compare it to real estate. That's just a fact. I don't care if you have 1 million tees, you know, you're never, you know, you can't compare it to anything in real estate. That's number one in the United States, around the world, everywhere.
Totally.
You know, so
I fully agree.
I'm not telling anybody to sell their tees off. You know, I think that's why people misjudged me. I was just telling them, look, you guys are taking this like a game, you know, but you have to understand that this is a business. You know, there is money coming in, so you need to invest that money, because if not, you're gonna get taxed on.
Yeah, that's another thing I wanted to touch on before. You said on crypto, it's not real until you cash out, right?
Correct.
That's true, because this is just a number. That number's going like this all day long, right?
Right.
Until you lock that shit in, it's not real. But the other thing is, when you do lock that number in, you create a taxable event. which also is like if you so that this is a weird thing I've been thinking about a bit lately. You know, somebody puts 10 grand in Dogecoin, now they're like 110, right? You cash that 110, you could pay like 40,000 to the man, or 30,000 to the man. So, but if you leave that shit in and it goes to $1 million, you still you don't pay the tax until you lock it in. So you have to kind of, and this is something too, day traders are fucking in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out, right? I don't play that game. I've tried a bit and I'll forget about it for 2 days and then I get fucked, right?
Mm-hmm.
But those guys are paying the highest tax bracket because they're cashing. So like, yeah, sure, a guy could, this is like such a deeper talk of tax things. That's why property is so good, because you can devalue your home, you get tax benefits, you can sell a home and then reinvest into another home, and you don't have to pay capital gains because you get, like, the government has programs for that.
It's 2 years. If you could hold a property for 2 years, you don't pay capital gains, and the total amount that you can make is 500,000. And if your name's just, you have to have two people, so you have to split it with 250, and it's fair game. It's all yours. But if you make more than 500,000 and you're trying to flip houses, that's why it's hard for me to go deeper into it. But yeah, flipping houses is tough nowadays. But back then, people were just killing it, man. They didn't care about paying 40% tax. They didn't care about the taxes. They would pay the 40% all day because they're making money and they're putting into the next one. But yeah, if you hold on to a house for 2 years, you're free up to 500,000 to make tax free.
Yeah, in Canada we have a rule: if you sell your primary residence, you'd pay zero capital gain. So, because I guess they want you to be able to, like, go buy another house or whatever it is. But if it's a rental property, you pay capital gains. We have a one-time $850,000 capital gains exemption, so you get to do that once in your life. And yeah, I mean, this is a huge deep talk. But once you get into investing and you get into start cashing out those stocks, you're making money cashing that crypto. It is taxable. You got to get yourself a good advisor, a good tax advisor, accountant who can advise you how to save your money. This is, remember when everyone was like giving Trump all that shit about he pays no tax? There was like this huge news story. Trump pays no tax, and they were bashing him. This is not a pro-Trump thing. All I'm saying is that guy has the best accountants in the game, and he just plays the system and pays no tax because he knows how to put his money in different assets. Correct. So it was kind of a bullshit news thing. Sure, he should be paying tax, whatever people's opinions are, but in the end of the day, he didn't break a law. He just played the tax game better than most people.
Yeah. I don't get into any politics or anything, but anyone that can work the system, because this is all a system. It's all a game, Yeah. Like, and again, if you really want to talk about it, a lot of these younger kids that are selling on Instagram, friends and family, that shit ain't gonna fly. That shit's not gonna fly. So you might as well understand that you're about to get taxed because you definitely didn't do it the right way. You're about to get a 1099K from PayPal, Venmo, all that stuff. It's all paper trail,
Yeah. So they're hitting you with the 1099 hard. Bang. Something you said on a post once, which I really liked, it was like something about if you spend 100, or like think about your spend, because if you spend 100 now, that 100 could be 500 or 200 or 300 later. So you're really spending the potential of that money. Can you explain that theory? Because it's kind of complex a little bit for some people to understand.
I mean, look, so you buy a t-shirt for, let's say, $100, and you're trying to sell it for 200. You really, like, it gets deeper, but you're pretty much, you spent $200. That's all you got to think about it, because you're going to try to make your money back at the end of the day. And in that situation, I would get deeper into that, but your money is going to grow with time, right? Like, even with if you put it in a savings account or anything, right? But for me, it's like if you're gonna invest $100 and you know you're gonna try to make double that, just think of it as you just spent $200 because you're definitely gonna try to capitalize on that $200 at that price point, just so you can make your 100 back. And and the and it goes back to like more of investing wise. If you try to, it's just like anything you do, you want to put your money and it's going to be tied up at the end of the day. It's going to be tied up, whether it be anything in life, it's going to be tied up. Whatever you invest, it's going to be tied up until you sell. And that's where the price point where you definitely have to think, if I do this, I want to get this amount of money, but it's tied up. So you're not going to see, it's not an asset. You're not going to see that money. You're not going to make money every day. So it's just going to be sitting until you sell.
Let's talk about assets. So what is an asset? An asset is something that makes you money. A lot of people say, so property is an asset. If you have a house, you're renting it for $2,000, the mortgage is $1,000, after all things said and done, you're making like $600 a month cleared. So that's a paycheck of $600 a month you're getting from that house. After everything's paid for, you're making money. A stock that pays you a dividend, say of 15% a year, or a stock that's been going up, like you're making money on the money you put in. That's an asset. To become like financially free, the goal is to have enough assets where you aren't spending your time trading for money. We're all selling vintage. Yes, it's a great business. I love it. It's super fun, but we're still trading our time for money because we're either out there picking to find the stuff, or we're on a live trying to sell the stuff, or we're listing the stuff, or whatever we're doing. You're still trading your time for that money. Like you said before, you talk about like taking some money out of it instead of putting all your money back into stock because you have this addiction. The real game plan is to take your money, take like a percentage, 10, 20% of your money every month, take it outside of the game, take it outside of the game and start to create enough cash to buy assets, buy property, buy investments, whatever it is. So
diversify. Just keep diversifying.
Yeah.
Your portfolio, your own portfolio.
And I feel like something I've said before, I'm going to say it again. I say it 100,000 times. It's like most people will not get rich from owning a business. The way people get rich is property, is probably the number one. Second of all is inheritance, which if you got parents that are going to leave you a shitload of money, power to you. Most of us don't have that, right? Or selling a business. Those are like the three number one ways people get rich. Now, selling a business is awesome, but I guarantee nobody out there right now can sell the Instagram live a t-shirt business because they're like, how the fuck do I do that? How do I go get the stuff? How do I do this? It's like, it's a knowledge-based hands-on thing. You can't, it's not scalable. It's not sellable. That's why I've created like Frankie or different brands within my thing that I'm like, that is a brand. We create our own shit. We could like sell that at some point if we wanted to. It's more scalable. So something that everyone can do though is take your money outside the game. Like I said, property, buy assets. You have to keep taking a percentage and putting it away, just like you said.
Yeah, 1,000%. And again, I think that's why I got judged a little bit by a few people in the vintage community. They're like, you sold off and you're doing your own thing now. But reality is, if I can do it, that's just reality. It's not rocket science. Like I said, I took just money that was material things, and I invested into something else, and it's just growing. And that's the name of the game. And I think it's because, Drew, respectfully, when we get older, a lot of these young kids don't understand. When you have kids and everything, it's a different ball game. You're you're gonna be either or you're gonna be behind and you're gonna be left out. Like, man, I should have done this back then.
Yeah. So how many kids you
And
got?
it's just like I said, it's just more investing. I have two. I have two boys.
How old?
Two boys. 7 and 4.
Dude, I have 9 and 5.
So yeah. So
We're like very similar. And today's my Jasper's 5th birthday. So after this, I'm about to go party it up with my boy.
no, that's what's up, man. Oh, so Drew, so that's the other thing. A lot of people aren't really thinking out the box. That's what the biggest thing is. A lot of people aren't really thinking out the box. Like, how do you turn this vintage into something different? Because I stepped away for a little bit, just because I have, my construction company I have to focus on, also like being alert and being aware that I was stuck on these lives so long that I forgot that I was with someone next to me, like at dinner. And I'm like looking at the lives, watching the lives. And I'm like, man, I caught myself. Like, even them, they're asking me, if you're on a date, will you do this to someone else? I had a pretty much this, yeah, I guess, I am all the time. But that's what I'm saying. I stopped myself. But now I'm thinking clearly, how do you change this? Okay. I put my kids in vintage tees now. They love it. We get, we bond like that. We watch wrestling or whatever, a movie, and they're wearing it. They love it. Star Wars, anything that they wear is because we watched the movie before, or we talked about it, or watched it on YouTube. So that's the change. That's what I'm trying to do. Like, create people to change their mindset. Like, everyone's just going to the wrestling. Everybody's going to the rap tees. Everyone's going to, the Disney, whatever that was. But no one's really thinking out the box. Look, the kids stuff will sell. I promise you that. It's going to be sought after for you. Think about it. How many celebrities have kids every year?
Oh yeah.
Right.
Dude.
And if this gets exposed to the biggest crowds ever, like, they're not going to be paying I don't know. Maybe they have stupid money like that, paying $3,000 for a T-shirt. But I'm assuming they're going to be buying stuff for their kids as well.
Yeah, and as you and me, I'm 40. I don't know how old you are.
I'm 39.
Okay, so yeah, we're like very similar in age and place in our life. As most of the kids we know are like 20 to 30 who are playing this game right now, who are in the vintage community. As they age up and have kids, you best believe they're all going to want to dress their kids in vintage. So it's funny you say that, because that's probably a wicked play to like save kids vintage until the demand is there for the community to start buying it. Like,
yeah, Drew, think about it. It hasn't been done yet. So
no, not really.
So I'm thinking out the box. I'm telling you, I always think out the box, because if I see something and it gets not boring, but it seems routine, like the same thing played over and over again, what hasn't been done yet? And it's still in the same type of topic, let me think about it. Oh, well, I have kids, they're rocking some Jordans already. They're not that I want them to be rocking that or anything, but I'm just saying I'm putting them into vintage. Maybe they're going to be the ones that are going to be hip later on, not me, because I'm out of the game. I'm gonna be out. I'm at 50. I don't think I'll be wearing, some
Tupac tee. Yeah.
yeah, Tupac tee. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So, no, I feel that, and I love that. I love thinking outside the box, and I love creative people that come up with ideas where they've created different business models within the same space. And that's exactly what you're saying, is like, really start to put yourself in it. It's called it's like a theory, a blue ocean theory, where you could either be in a red ocean, they call it, when you're swimming with the sharks, and you put yourself into like a high competition scenario, or you create a business that's in a blue ocean where you just have no competition. You've created your own market,
Correct.
And that is kind of the theory. And that's kind of what we did with Frankie, although now it's becoming more of a red ocean for rework. But like, for a long time, there wasn't any even competitors out there. And with Chris, it's like Chris did that. He created a business model that he has in this business, but it's not the same as everybody else. He's not selling the shirts. He's helping you sell the shirts and making money. So,
right. that's being creative and thinking out the box, you know.
Yeah.
And the thing that's scary that I don't know if it's ever gonna go back to normal.
No, I think there'll be a lot of innovations coming out. So let's talk about this for a sec, because this has been leaked in the community. I don't have any issues talking about it because people are talking about it. MTV reality TV show. You've heard this?
Yes.
So,
yeah.
What have you heard? You want to just give it a rundown?
No, I just heard just a few cast members were casted. That's all. That they're gonna have the green light already. They're gonna start filming, I think. That's all I've heard, honestly.
Yeah.
I can't say who. I mean, I know like 2 people, 3 people, but I'm not gonna say it because you know that's not my place to say. But,
yeah, fair enough. So
I think it's gonna be great.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I think it's gonna be great. This is the exposure that we're gonna get, and that's exactly why I'm saying I'm thinking out the box, because if you already know something, right, that's coming, be ahead of the game. Be ahead of the game. Everybody's gonna have teas. Everybody has their own brand on Instagram. But again, like I'm doing a different thing. I'm going a different route. You know, I still have the same teas, the 100 teas that I have. With like compared to someone else, mids, everything. But again, once this goes and it does blow up, my avenue is gonna I have all the kids heat. You guys want kids heat? I know, hit me up, DJ Cali. Hit me up. Whoever has kids out there, they'll fit your kids.
The celebrity youth stylist, man.
Yes, exactly. There you go. That's it. Because
that's dope.
Yeah,
that's super dope.
That's the name. That's exactly the route I'm going for now. Everybody's thinking bigger celebrities, Travis Scott and all that. I'm thinking more of no. These guys are getting older just like we are. They have kids, so I'm on that page right now.
Good call, man.
I'm on that wave. Yeah.
So, any last words or shout outs for the people?
Look, the biggest thing I want everyone to do is succeed in life. And if you can learn anything, just learn that, I'm not here to advise anyone to do anything that I wouldn't do. I'm just here to advise to better yourself because of the positions that I've been in life, whether it be from losing money in real estate, losing money in the stock market, selling off material items to better myself. And I think we could all do that. And just be in a positive level. And your health is your wealth. Like that's the other thing. You have to understand that with that, it doesn't even matter what you have. You could have $1 million in your bank account. If you're not mentally or physically good, that's the other thing. It doesn't matter. The stability that you're going to sustain with having friends on Instagram and going live with them. It's just, you have to be there for yourself. You have to invest in yourself first.
I love that. I agree. And I think it's okay if you need to take a break and reconnect your mind and body, do it. There's nothing wrong with taking a break and getting out of the scene for a minute. You can come back whenever you're ready. I do it often. I take care of my body, like you do. You're saying health is wealth. Like, I'm on a cleanse right now. Like the body, the mind, it's all connected, and that's going to help you like on your path. And yep. I love it, dude. That was a good chat.
Yeah. Hey, Drew, man, I'm a fan of yours, man. I've been watching your stuff, man. I can't believe I'm actually doing this too, man. Actually talking to you, man. It's pretty cool, man.
Well, thanks, dude. I'm a fan of yours, bro. And yeah, I guess we'll end it there. Any quick shout outs before we close it out?
Not really. Just again, everybody that's bought from me, I appreciate it. I'm definitely coming back. And when I do come back, it's going to be on a different scale and a different level. And yeah, let everybody just keep on trucking.
Keep on trucking. All right, brother. I love it. Thanks so much for coming on, dude.
All right, thank you, Joe. Have me on.
Well, another episode come and gone. Thank you guys for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. You know, I really do appreciate you guys. And, you know, trying to pump out more of these, but it's time consuming. I'm doing my best here. Again, if you want to support, go check out the Patreon link down below, link up in one of these corners here on YouTube. And you can support me if you like what I do, if you've learned something. If you learned something from me, if I've helped you in your business, I'd appreciate the support. Let me know down below in the comments. Have you learned something from this podcast? Okay, guys, see you on the next one.